Welcome, everyone, to episode 135 of Puppet Masters and Castle Freaks, the internet's leading all things Charles Band podcast. I am one of your hosts, the amazing Jackal Boy, Jared Hornbeck, and I'm coming to you from Bulldog's Clubhouse, which is conveniently located here in Brooklyn, New York. Mm-hmm. But I am not taking this car ride through a potentially day for night filter to this alleged witch's house. No, who else is here with me?
Well, some folks call me Johnny Botulism. Some folks call me Mr. Poo-Poo Cushion, but my name is really Steve Gunley. Thank you all for being here. This is the podcast about Jackal Boys, fake oils, and steamed kitties. That's because this is the podcast about Dead and Rotting, a nasty, fun little Tempe-era thriller, and we are excited to be joined by one of the actors from the film, one of the jack of all trades behind the scenes working on this movie. Who's joining us here today?
Well, I'm going to call him a jackal of all trades.
There we go.
For this movie. I mean, I feel like that is the necessary way to do this. No, we're very excited to have Jeffrey Sisson with us here. He is somebody who has worked on a number of Full Moon productions as an actor, possibly in the movie we're going to talk about today, but also in a lot of different departments, including special effects, makeup, all those things. Really someone who's done a lot of different jobs with Full Moon, and I can't wait to hear more about them. So, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us, man. Glad to have you.
No, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We always love it, especially with smaller movies like these that maybe are not as like exhaustively documented as some of other movies that we might cover. Like I'm excited to get some behind the scenes kind of scuttlebutt on this one, because I'll jump ahead to the end. I quite liked this one. I thought it was super fun. It's really like obviously made with very small budget, but with some genuine skill behind the camera, with some genuine skill on screen. And it's a lot of fun, and it's got like a real nasty vibe to it. So I had a great time with this one.
A couple of great cameos too.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I must say so, maybe more than some other movies. No, I'll show my cards also. I liked this one quite a bit as well. I think, I wouldn't say, I was like, over the moon about it after the first watch. And I felt like there was maybe tonally, I hoped it would lean into some more intentional comedy at times than it does, because it is kind of dark. But that being said, I thought that it was a neat little premise. I thought there was some fun performances, a very committed friend of the show, Debbie Rochon, which we'll talk more about later.
Love Debbie, yeah.
And I thought this is a really cool concept that I'm on board for, like maybe 90% of how it was handled in this movie. But for such a cheaply made, quickly made Tempe era Full Moon movie, that's a pretty positive review. So I came down pretty positively on it overall.
I hope you're not doing that on my expense because I'm here.
No,
we make a point if our guests were involved in the movie and we don't like it.
No, I know.
We run it right in their face. We spit it at them.
Everything you dropped in the intro was totally not lost with me. So I knew we talked about doing this a while back, and I just revisited the movie and I hadn't seen it. I mean, I couldn't even tell you the last time I watched it. Right. And after watching it, I'm not even totally sure that I watched it all the way through when it came out originally. So
right.
It was an interesting watch, and everything you said is completely accurate. And how on earth, I don't know. And I'll be quite honest, I don't know if Charlie was behind this one at all, or it was just one of them things he just threw, because JR was kind of getting this stuff pushed out, because this is a very Full Moon like movie.
I mean, it's shot in Akron, it's
Hartville. Beautiful Hartville.
Okay. Is that outside of Akron? I don't know Ohio.
Akron. We shot, I think it was Hartville, and I want to say it was like Springfield and Mogador. I mean, it was all that stuff's just right outside of Akron.
Okay.
The watching it, I mean, it's a pretty good representation of what was there. It was very rustic. Very rustic.
looks like super. I mean, it's a real kind of, it's very literally middle America, and it really feels like small town middle America. And I think that gives it a lot of like character and a lot of,
that's
when like LA is subbing for Ohio, like you can tell. Yeah. And this is not LA. Ohio.
It's interesting because that's where Barton lived.
Right.
I think he still lives there. JR was from there. It was an interesting production. I mean, if you want to jump right into it, it was like
absolutely, I was thinking I've got like some stats and like some stuff here. Maybe you can confirm what my research is accurate, and I'm curious to hear how you got involved in this. But the movie Dead and Rotting was released February 3rd, 2002. It's directed by David P. Barton. It's written by Barton and Douglas Snauffer, and it stars Stephen O'Mahony, Tom Hoover, Debbie Rochon, Trent Haga, Jeff Dylan Graham, Christopher Susiu, Tammy Sutton, Jamie Starr, Barbara Katz-Norrad, and Jeffrey Sisson. That's right. I gave you the and on this one. You didn't get the and in the movie, but I'm giving you the and in this one.
Crazy. I watched the credits. I'm like the fifth person at the end of the credits they list. I'm like in the movie like 6 seconds, and I just double for people through the whole thing. But
it's great. You get one iconic line.
I would be remiss if I did. It's Haga, Trent Haga.
Haga. Oh, excuse me. I've been saying that wrong the entire time.
I have too. And
it's the double A's. Yeah.
Is that this is one of those weird name things, because I was actually going to ask, because I think it was Debbie. So listeners, you will have probably heard our interview with Debbie Rochon a couple of weeks ago at this point. She said Trent Haga. Now, I know people who have met him or worked with him before who've spoken about him and mispronounced it. So I've heard it. I always heard it as Haga. And then I just went with it. Like, okay, cool. That's how you say the name. Then Debbie said Haga, and I went, well, she would know better probably than the other people that I've spoken to about it.
Yeah.
And I thought to like change that, and I meant to actually bring that up, because I was like, if another person says Trent Haga, we will strike it from the record, and from this point on, it's Trent Haga.
I will try to break the habit.
I can totally, completely confirm it is Haga.
Okay.
So, yes.
Well,
it is.
No disrespect meant to him. Everything.
Oh no, Trent's such a nice guy. People would probably mispronounce his name, and he would just let it flow.
Yeah. That's all. I've only ever heard good things about that guy. Like,
and I get that
on the show is like,
I get being like that as someone whose first name is spelled the unconventional way. I have colleagues and friends who I've known or worked with for, basic double-digit years or decades of friendship, who will still spell my name wrong in print. And it's just kind of wild to me. And I'm just kind of like, it's one of those mental blocks that people can't get over when they have it. It's like they know. And if you say, hey, you spelled, they'll go, oh, yeah. But like, they don't think of it at the moment. But Jeff, you said something interesting about the potential lack of Charlie's involvement in this project. And my understanding is that as we get further into the Tempe era stuff, and we get closer to where the Tempe rift, I'll call it, with then the Shadow Entertainment kind of coming next.
Which really we're kind of on the brink of with this movie.
It seems like, and I feel like JR talked about this on the show with us too, where he was sort of just being told like commands from like a tower of like, do this, but there wasn't that Charles Band oversight. And I can imagine how that kind of environment can be really draining, like being expected to be the person who gets this long production list of stuff done, but without being, I'm not somebody who's all for a ton of like studio feedback or interference in projects, but getting some kind of notes or feedback or something could be beneficial in some ways, especially if the feedback is constructive. But if you're just like not getting that and you don't feel supported, like based on your recollection of the time, like, was it kind of the feeling that of JR that he wasn't getting the support of Charlie at that time?
I'm gonna put it. Let me try to put it in perspective, how the best way I can, and to do that, I'll give you a real quick how I came into this world. So one of my really great friends is a guy named Matthew Jason Walsh, whose name probably is familiar with you guys. He's authored quite a few scripts for Charlie and worked with Dave Dakota a lot over the years. And I knew him, and I was at the time I was in Kansas City, and Matt had moved to KC, and we actually ended up being roommates. And I knew that he had worked with JR, and there was an opportunity because I was working here in Kansas City, working on things occasionally that would pop up. Most of the stuff around here was the shot on video stuff. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with like Todd Sheets. I mean, he's a grinder, man. And you know, shooting these shot on video epics. And that's how I met Matt. And we just hit it off. And I knew that he knew JR. He knew that I had an interest in the films. He's like, you know, JR's telling, you know, he's kind of playing middleman, and he's like, you know, there's an opportunity to go out there and work on a film. Would you want to do that, just to go out to do it? And I was working at an ad agency at the time, but I just took time off, and I said, yeah, that'd be great. So I went out and worked on Killjoy 2. That was the first one. And at the time, I know they were already shooting these movies. This was like, they'd done Witch House 2, which was in Romania, I believe, and then 3, and then Killjoy. So part of the fulfillment of here's the big thing that drove these at the time and you know, it was they had deals with the blockbusters and whoever. We were supplying them product. I mean, it was like, we need a movie a month from you guys.
Right. Yeah.
So very quickly it was the success of these was based on not necessarily the quality as much as how well they sold. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
You know, if we were getting good numbers, that was really driving, you know, obviously Charlie's, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, he's got something with dolls and little things.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff that was going on, that JR was like kind of the hand of God, kind of pushing it out the door. It was nothing to do with that stuff, you know. So they were at the time, and this is, we shot Killjoy 2 was in the summer of 2001, and at that time, the urban films were really popular. They were really popular in the video stores. So that was kind of a push for that stuff. And you guys, I know you watched Killjoy 2, and God bless you for making it through there. Not the most PC of films. Doesn't hold up so well today.
But wasn't our favorite, but that's all right. Yeah.
But, you know, it gave me the opportunity to meet Trent. That's the first time I met Trent. And again, so I went out, and I was basically just, you know, whatever they needed help with. And I went back. At that time they were gearing up for Hell Asylum. Okay. Yeah. And I didn't work on that one because I had other obligations. But I knew there was other things getting ready to happen, and they'd said, oh, we're going to do another one. You might as well jump in on that one. It's like, well, we can pick you up. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, well, it's in Ohio. So the production left. I mean, they drove a lot of the stuff, the equipment and stuff came out from LA. Yeah. So I just jumped in a car with somebody and hitched out to Ohio. And that was in October. It was in late October after 9/11, which was also a huge, it was an interesting time to be making movies.
I bet.
It was a really strange time, especially being in Hartville, Ohio in October of 2001 after 9/11. So it was an interesting time. And definitely pretty intense.
It'd be hard to be carting around like film equipment and cameras and stuff like that and not have people calling in like bomb concerns or stuff like that around that time.
Well, unless you're in Hartville, Ohio, where no one seemed to mind. And one of the rare instances where I saw probably the single most drive-through liquor stores I've ever seen in my life. I thought, man, this place has got a lot of car washes. Like, no, that's the liquor store. I'm like,
no, they are people on the go. Come on,
they got things to do, people to see. So that's what got me out to that point. And I remember at that point, I was Tammy Sutton, who was the director of Killjoy 2. I'm trying to keep all this straight, guys. There's
Oh yeah.
he was actually the production designer on Dead and Rotting, and also one of the actors. It
Yeah,
was just,
plays
again, it
Rose.
was everybody,
Yeah.
just throw everybody. It's an R gang effort. So, and I went out there and they already had makeup people and everything, but again, it's like all hands on deck. So I just helped with the art direction.
Of course.
You needed somebody to throw blood. If Ron Karkoska and was, I think, the main guy who made everything, but House, David Greyhouse was there, and he's an amazing makeup artist. So it was a real interesting effort to get out and just kind of get thrown right in the middle of it. And all right, and to me, seemed a lot more natural to me shooting that movie than like working out in LA, because that's how we shoot stuff in the Midwest. It's like, I think Dave speaks about it. I've heard him, you'd see, oh, look at that cool farmhouse. Let's just shoot the outside of this. He didn't ask you.
Yeah, people don't care. Yeah.
Well, they did. Well, when they came outside and were wondering, what the hell are you doing? That happened a lot. So
Okay.
that happened a couple times, almost, and kind of scary, but again, it's like, Dave was shooting, they're shooting a movie in Hartville, Ohio, but he's trying to shoot it like he's in LA. So to a certain extent, but there's a lot of stuff. People get excited in small towns when you're shooting a movie, and where normally you got to get 10 permits and close down. Oh, you want to flip a car in the main street? Yeah. Well, here, we'll close that off for you. It's no big deal. So,
it's like the making of Troll 2. Not that these movies compare necessarily, but like everybody in that little Utah town just got like super involved in the production, and they're all extras and all actors in the movie, and like it's just an exciting thing to do.
Yeah, and that's typical when you shoot these little movies like this. The one interesting thing about this one was most people, by the time they figured out what we were doing, we were already done. It was like I was there 8 days, I think. Was
that's about typical for Full Moon,
which was a little leaner than our typical 10-day shoot.
Right, yeah.
20% knocked off right there.
It was Dave had a lot of stuff going on in that script that was like, dude, you're killing us with this. We can't make these days if we're trying to shoot this. I know it was driving Trent bananas because, he was, I think he was the AD, listed as the AD on this, and he was trying to make it happen, and it's really tough, and it was a really great, interesting shoot. Mike King, who I don't know if you guys pick, I worked with Mike King quite a bit, who he's probably best known for shooting the Jim Van Bever movies like Deadbeat at Dawn and the Manson Family. He was the DP on this. I was really excited to finally meet him. I knew who he was. He'd helped Jim make those movies. And, this was the second movie I'd worked on with Debbie, and I went on to work with her on Bleed also.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. Yeah.
Something else I worked on, dude, it's all kind of blurring together, but, definitely an interesting time to be making the, and again, this is like, all right, man, this is like, was it Hollywood at Home? What was the name of the other big movie, not movie gallery?
Oh, okay.
Blockbuster and
Hollywood Video.
Hollywood Video. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's who this stuff was being catered to.
That's what, like when we covered Bleed and like the Shadow Films era, that was like specifically they talked to Blockbuster reps and like, okay, what's selling right now? Well, people like Scream, people like slasher films. So Full Moon's first slasher film. Yeah,
Devin Hamilton, who was one of the co-directors of Bleed, he was the guy selling the movies. So it was Yeah. So I think a lot of how he got his movie made was like he was kind of, it's like, well, they're saying they want slashers like Scream. He's like, and I just happen to have this script right, so it worked out very well for him. So, but that's literally our push was like that, because I can remember going back out to LA when we wrapped up Dead and Rotting, and then I was back out there to work on Bleed, or no, actually, I'm sorry, we worked on Deadly Stingers, which was something originally was being done for 20th Century Fox.
Right. And then that kind of was the movie that sort of severed the relationship between JR and Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah. It just wasn't, I get it,
look,
They were looking for a Sci-Fi Channel epic, and it just,
It wasn't that.
But
It's
yeah,
a fun movie. We like that movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and
Yeah.
it was funny because it was a lost movie for years. It ended up its first big it was in the UK. It was streaming in the UK before it was here, and they changed the name. What's it? Mega Scorpions.
Mega Scorpions, yeah.
But you look at these movies and you see this real, like, Trent's in Stainers, and he's in Killjoy 2, and he's in Dead and Rotting. He wrote in Hell Asylum in some capacity, I think. Yeah, I mean, he's showing up in all of these, and Debbie's in a lot of them. We had a really, you can't really pull a movie off like in 8 days if you don't have a solid group of people, and that was the one. And you're working with the same 10 people.
Right.
Is Batista going to be there? Is Sutton going to be there? Is Jay? And that's how I think that's how a lot of these things got done. I mean, they weren't terribly complicated in the sense, but I think about it now. I mean, it's crazy some of the stuff that they managed to do. It's like, and even with the equipment, now the equipment's so much better than it was 20 years ago.
Right.
It's almost archaic. Like I went back and watched it. I had an actual DVD because I know that stuff ends up on streaming and it looks like garbage, man. Crazy stuff to it. So it was interesting to go back and look at it and kind of watch it. Like I hadn't seen it for a long time, so I'd kind of forgotten how fun it was to work on these. So
yeah, you're totally right, Jeff. Like I think there's a lot to be said for having a trustworthy, kind of tight-knit crew of people to make these things happen under duress and under short schedules and stuff like that, because if this is in fact the way the model for these things is happening, like blockbuster representatives are saying we want one of these, okay, we want a slasher movie, well then worked on Bleed, which ended up being a pretty fun little movie that Steve and I covered, and then teen occult stuff and witchy stuff is kind of in fashion right now too. And then you get either this movie, which dabbles a little bit in the occult, or you get Birthright, which is another fun one that dabbles in the occult. And so I just think it sounds like such a crazy proposition to be told this is the kind of project we're looking for without a lot more guidance, and then to have a kind of bare bones crew and a lot of hurdles, and then to be able to churn out something so passable in a lot of ways, in the worst sense, but then also pretty good other times, like passable being sort of like the worst case scenario for a lot of these things. I remember coming into the show, having this preconceived notion that I really liked a handful of Empire movies, and I really liked a handful of early kind of classic Paramount era full moon movies. But, a big blind spot for me was anything that really came out post 96 full moon, and being really sort of pleasantly surprised by the ingenuity of stuff that we've run into.
Right.
Like there's always like a 1% of me that sits down to a Tempe era full moon movie or Shadow Entertainment or a later stage full moon, where I'm sort of like, okay, I could be sitting down for something that's going to be a slog.
Right.
And more times than not, I've had sort of the adverse reaction where I'm finding things about it that I really like. That was an unexpected surprise. And this was no different. And I just think you're totally right. Like, this is something where not every collection of people on a crew or a movie set could churn these things out like that.
Right. No, it was, and I want to make something completely clear, just in case, like, I'm more than certain nobody at Hollywood or Blockbuster asked for a rural horror film where 3 guys gangbang a witch and accidentally, like, there's some stuff going on in this movie I kind of forgot. Like,
there's
like,
like
you just kind of just glance over. It's like, it's like But yeah, I mean, you're totally right. I mean, and I may be oversimplifying it. JR could probably correct me on this, but I mean, it was as a casual observer standing back, being like, it was a lot of it was driven by blockbusters wanting a vampire movie. What do we got? Or we need another urban title. We need something that something like a Crips or and there's probably a half dozen other movies that I'm completely like just forgetting that they did, but they were just jamming them out as fast as they could, because we really had to, while we had a little break between some of these things, because then they went off to post, which was a couple guys back in North Hollywood and what they called the compound, where JR, like, there was a bunch. I think JR lived there at one time. I think Danny lived there. Don Adams and Harry Picardi, they lived in and they were, I mean, it was literally like, hey, we just finished the edit on this. Just doors down from one another. So it was interesting. I thought it was really interesting. It was like,
I think it helped that your director is David P. Barton, who this is his one and only film that he directed, and he has a long history as like a Hollywood special effects artist. I took a small sampling of his filmography. His first movie was working on the film crew of Phantasm 2 back in 1988, and he's also dabbled in Full Moon stuff since Puppet Master 2, which is maybe the crowning special effects achievement of the entire Full Moon universe, I would argue. But a few other notable titles that he's worked on includes things like Tremors, The People Under the Stairs, Starship Troopers, Face Off, Sleepwalkers, Bram Stoker's Dracula, In the Mouth of Madness, Stargate, The Usual Suspects, Bound, A Beautiful Mind, Apocalypto, 300, many, 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 many more. Looks like he does not have a credit post 2011, but it seems like he is now running a popular haunted house in Akron, Ohio.
Yeah, he moved himself. He was, again, he kind of got his break working with JR, working on The Dead Next Door.
Yeah.
And he made some friends in LA. He was able to go out there, and he got married, and him and his wife lived out there for quite a while. And I think once they started wanting to have a family, that took him back to Ohio. And then you can see that's where he focused more on The Haunt, and his movie work just kind of, as far as the effects stuff, kind of, is just tapered off, as we'll say.
Yeah.
He's, and yeah, he's a sharp dude. He's definitely, I can't say anybody's weird, but, he definitely has his own, watching that movie, you can definitely tell his sense of humor is in that movie, which is this, should I be laughing at this? Is this, wait a minute, this is kind of messed up, but you are kind of laughing at some of the stuff. And, you speak it's toward the end of the movie, there's a reveal of the bag heads. You get to finally see the rotting side of Dead and Rotting, and I'm pretty sure that was a head from The Usual Suspects that Dave.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I know it from his credits. It looks like he's a multiple time. A lot of his specialty is like making prosthetic eyes. So anytime you see a really goopy prosthetic eye in a movie that he's worked on, that's probably his work. So he's got a good eye. Yeah, he's got a good eye. Ironically.
It was and this movie's this is one of these movies where it's like, all right, I've got the mold for this. Why don't we repurpose this and see if we can make this? That's a lot of this movie,
Absolutely.
It worked. It worked for what it was. Again, it's a goofy ass movie. I mean, that's probably a mild understatement. Again, I can't remember ever seeing a movie with this sensibility. I can't even describe. Like I said, I just watched it again, and it's such a strange one. It's like, especially in that, when you look at it in the catalog of the other titles, that you can kind of see it's like, I don't know. And I was always kind of wondering, like, man, I wonder if Charlie ever watched any of these. I don't know.
He was having, I know he's written about it. He was definitely having like a tough time, like personally and financially around this era. And I think these he was really struggling to find,
Well, there was
with financing, and then like he hadn't really. They'd kind of this little stretch is kind of the least full moon era, because 2005 we find Ginger Dead Man again, and like the Killjoy movies start picking up, and he's back in Charlie Band like Carnival Barker mode, where he's making he's marketing a little bit. This is a little bit of a wilderness period in good ways and bad. I think for the most part, like I've actually genuinely enjoyed most of the movies that we've watched during this era, even though they are butting up against absolutely like minimal budgets. Like, you could see like even if he invested like $30,000 more into this, you could have gotten a little bit more out of it, because there are clearly talented filmmakers working on these. We've talked about Danny Draven, and we talked about Devin Hamilton and now David Barton. Like I was watching this and I'm just like Dave Parker as well. I was watching this movie and thinking like, I was just thinking there's like intentional lighting schemes in this movie. There's thought put into framing. There's thought put into like eye lines and stuff like that. And they're obviously working with a 2002 era digital camera, so it kind of looks like it's been like scrubbed through the mud. But like there's real craft going on behind the scenes here, which is really cool. I also love a rural horror movie that does not try to aggrandize small town life. Like I no disrespect to Gilmore Girls, but too many things try and make like the Gilmore Girls version of a small town, right? Like everything's very clean and everyone's polite and they have their quirky disagreements.
I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you right there, because it is, when you're hearing this episode, it's peak spooky season, which means it is peak Gilmore Girls season.
Oh yeah, you best be
go get a nice, like, comforting, warm cup of coffee or cocoa. Maybe you can get it from Luke's Diner if you want to.
Yeah, go fill your mug.
Just join Stars Hollow in that time. Get yourself a nice crew neck sweatshirt and just hang out. That is where I want to spend the majority of my spooky season.
I wish that's what small town life was like, but I've grown up in a lot of these rural towns, and a lot of it are guys kind of like in this movie. They're a little aimless. They're just kind of like these are three guys who kind of entertain themselves by like they do dumb pranks on each other, and they all pick up the same girl at the bar and take her home in a way that like I just cannot wrap my head around ever. Just like fun Friday night with the fellas. Like I can't wrap my head around that.
And in that dynamic of people, like I feel like Trent Haga has a fun presence where he's sort of like he's got like a Steve Buscemi or Sean Whalen energy to him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, he's a Weasley guy.
Trent's the best for that, like bringing that guy. And Trent's from the Midwest.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, he's from the Midwest originally. He spent time in New York working on trauma things, and then he transplanted out to LA, but he's always got that Midwestern sensibility about him, and he's so fun. He's kind of worked himself. He's mostly just writes now, and to me it's a little sad because I love watching him. I mean, he's really fun to watch sometimes, even as cringeworthy as some of the Killjoy stuff could be. But I mean, he kind of even slipped himself into that and owned that, beyond the questionable second film in the franchise series, but
by the third one he kind of found his thing.
He's not a stride with it. And is it John, the director? I mean, again, you know what you're getting, and it's not, you don't go in expecting certain things when you watch these movies. And I think that's, if they're, you go in with that mentality, you have fun watching it. It's like, it's just an interesting, again, it was like, we'll never see another timeline. I mean, now everybody's shooting stuff for streaming, which is a little different animal, but in a lot of ways it's the same thing, except now it opens it up to millions of more people who can make subpar movies now. It's just whether or not anyone will ever watch them. So
that's the trick. Yeah, there's both more of an audience, but also like kind of a deluge, right? You're kind of like you're overwhelmed with choices, so it's like it's both easier and harder to find your audience, right?
And I wanted to say something too. You spoke about Charlie and kind of like he was kind of like maybe lost a little bit, and again, kind of a little on the outside of that. So here's somebody who goes from having a space on the Paramount lot, again kind of doing the same thing for all intents and purposes, offering basically a movie a month. That was kind of what he was doing for Paramount in the early days. And, and that relationship kind of ending. And then, he would move to, and I can't remember the name of the space. It was, an office down in Hollywood where it was like 2 or 3 floors. And then, and then it went to 1 floor, and then you had to move down the street to a smaller, so there was this downsizing, and you can see it in the product too. This is what, he wasn't making big movies then. And to your point, I think he was a little lost and was trying to figure out, what am I going to do next? And again, making movies, just catering to the video stores was probably pretty draining for him. It's like,
oh yeah,
I'm sure he didn't want, trust me, I'd heard that come out of that man's mouth. I'll never make a slasher movie. Well, he technically didn't, but his company put out one, and it was, I never thought we would see the day, but that's what he was trying to cater to, what he thought people wanted, I guess.
Sure.
He probably also felt a little lost because if you look at the trends of trends he was jumping on and exploiting, we covered his very early movie Crash, about the possessed car. Very, very fun movie.
Yeah, that's a good one. No one ever talks about that.
And then he goes through the weird, fairy tales and Cinderella period and stuff like that. Then he's cashing in kind of on the 3D craze. And then it's like with the popularity of Gremlins and stuff like that, it was like we were just and Critters, we were just clamoring for these tiny terrors in the 80s, into the 90s, into the early 90s. But by this time, the horror landscape and low budget movie landscape had changed so much that not only had slashers come through and completely taken over, but now once we get past 99, it's like you almost need to have kind of a folksy, like found footage feeling to your movie. And it's so far from like the stuff that I think Charles Band enjoys.
Oh yeah, you like Hell Asylum's like a found footage.
Right. Yeah. Kind of riffing off of that TV show Fear, right? Like that MTV reality show. Yeah.
Dude, you could have nailed it. I think Trent's walking, or like I remember him saying it was like he was trying to do like part Fear and part like a Tombs of the Blinded.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I can see those.
Now, how successful that was, I'll leave that to the person watching the film. But if anything, like I said, it's not, it was at the least, it was fun to watch, And
we enjoyed that one.
They're lean and they seem to move along rather quickly. None of these movies from this era, 70, 80 minutes. It's perfect, for what you're serving up to people. Anymore, you're going to have them just, they're going to shut it off. Any less, it's like, kind of leave them wanting more, hopefully. So, it definitely, again, a very strange era of to be working on Full Moon products. And, I was lucky. When I came in, I got to work with, great like Mac Allberg, who shot.
Oh, yeah.
He shot Deadly Stainers, but I got because I'd kind of transplanted myself out to LA, and I was fortunate enough I'd hang out with him when I could, and do just the stuff, the stories, and I drove him bananas, probably asking him constantly, but good people. I got it wasn't a Full Moon thing, but like I worked with Buchler on doing some effects for another movie, and asked me,
wow.
He's like, oh yeah, you work for Charlie, and it was like, so I did some work for Charlie's wife, Debbie Dion, who is a name that if you go back and look at, she was producing all those Empire movies, and they owned a castle, which I think they still have it. I'm not totally for certain. It's Castle di Giove. I think
they sold that castle, but I think he has another similarly extravagant property just now in Cleveland. Yeah.
Well, at the time, I remember. I'm totally not sure how it came around, but Debbie had reached out to me, and they needed a website for the castle, so I built them a website. So. I was always around in some capacity for quite a while. I don't know if Charlie ever knew my name. I had a really big beard then, and he just called me ZZ Top a lot. I remember. So, ZZ Top, what's happening, my man?
There you go. Hey.
Or it was Dude. I think it was always Dude with him.
Dude, he says every interview that he gives, he excessively uses the word dude.
It's not for benefit because I can remember him again. I think a lot of it he just doesn't remember people's names or.
Oh yeah.
That's okay. Listen, he's got a lot going on up in that brain bucket. He's trying to cook up the next doll or tiny creature movie that he's going to churn out. So
yeah,
I got nothing bad to say about Charlie. Like I said, the checks all was cleared. I was real happy about that.
Very cool. Very cool that you got to work with Beekler. Very cool that you got to work with Mac Allberg. Outside of Richard Band, maybe Mac Allberg is probably in a lot of ways like the patron saint of our show because we talk about him so much.
A lot.
No, I don't think he gets enough props in this universe, to be quite honest. Not necessarily your show, but here's a guy who clearly did not need to be working on $50,000 shot on video horror movies. And, bless his heart, he showed up like he was shooting, Beverly Hills Cop 3 or whatever, he was going to be shooting. And his attitude was like, I took away so much from working with that dude on even one movie. Just attitude's everything. It's a crummy movie and it's cold but you're working on a movie,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
He was the best, dude. I know I drove that dude bananas. I was like, man, I remember asking him about, it's like, what's it like working on like these, like women in prison, like Chained Heat? Like,
oh,
Linda
yeah.
Blair. I think we were talking, it got into Linda Blair because I think he'd shot Hell Night. And of course, when you're sitting around in the dark, waiting for the fake scorpion to show up or whatever, you're just talking, and he was so generous. And he was like, oh, I love Linda. Linda she was beautiful. That movie, just dreadful. Is it Chained Meat? That's what we should.
Chained Meat. Chained Meat. Different
best.
movie. But yeah.
That's funny. But like Richard Band, I feel like puts the same sort of mark, I guess, for lack of a better word, on things that he works on because maybe you could look at it as there being a little nepotism involved, but I think he approaches each of these projects like it's kind of a prestige thing and gives them a lot of the same attention and effort in the things he's composing. And so it was amazing talking to him too. The music in this particular movie, I will say, was notable in a couple of places. One, because I feel like it was the first time I noticed in one of these full moon movies, there was sort of like I don't know what you would call it, but like a little music box style refrain that sounded not entirely unlike the beginning of Goblin's Suspiria theme.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I liked when that was kind of peppered in. And the music is credited to a guy named John Greathouse, who I don't think we've encountered yet on this show.
If I'm not mistaken, John's in Midnight Syndicate.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. I could look on the interwebs here in front of me, but I know Midnight Syndicate was responsible for some of the music in the film, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's.
Cool. All right, that makes sense.
And if you dig into, even if it's not, if you listen to Midnight Syndicate, is a very I'm not going to say totally Goblin inspired, but they are definitely from doing something very atmospheric and usually kind of almost concept driven. They don't use vocals or anything, but I love music. So they were already on my radar, and I just didn't realize that they were kind of from that area, I guess. So Barton he definitely made an effort to put in, I remember him talking about that, how he made an effort to find music that he could fill in this movie. And he just went, at the time, he was just typing in, he went to, I think it was mp3.com, and he would listen to something. He's like, oh, I like that. I think I'm going to send those guys an email and see if I can use their music. Of course, in 2001, it was a lot easier to do that. And
thanks a lot, Lars Ulrich.
Yeah. I mean, he was able to leverage a lot of this music, and these guys, nobody cared. They were like, okay, that's great, go for it. And it was exposure on some small level. I mean, if you were a band and somebody came to you and said, "Hey, can we use your music? It's going to be on this movie that's coming out next month in Blockbuster." Sure,
Right.
you're probably yes. So,
Yeah.
and I think on the DVD, like he isolated the score and the music. Like you could like go listen to it, which was kind of interesting, I thought.
Yeah.
Like he isolated like the music into its own like track onto the DVD, which I always thought was kind of interesting. So
That's a cool concept. And I would be remiss to say, since we're kind of talking about music, there is a fun little motif in this movie of like the dead and what does it feel like to be dead and rotting?
the little
like
rhyme.
Yeah,
message,
the little refrain.
the rhyme,
Yeah.
which I was sort of chuckling to myself the first time I heard it because it's delivered in this way where it's like, what does it feel like to be dead and rotting? And I was like, it kind of sounded like the spoken word part in the beginning of the song, The Distance by Cake.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's got the cake the cadence. Yeah. Yeah. It really does.
Completely unintentional. I can
Oh, I'm
almost
sure.
guarantee that, but I'm pretty sure the Cake was about as far off David Barton's radar as you could possibly imagine. So no, it was again just another little weird thing that came to the
but delivered, I think, with some conviction. And I think this is a good time. I want to give some props to Debbie Rochon in this movie because I think she's like very commanding in the scene, and very committed to what she's doing in this movie. And that's something we always appreciate about her because we've covered her on a few other things. We've maybe talked about with times where she's bringing a certain depth or to a performance or a level of energy that maybe she's not being matched entirely by everyone around her. And I feel like that's not necessarily true here. Trent Haga, great energy.
These guys are all good. Yeah, they're all very naturalistic.
I'm not saying that about this movie. I think
I totally get what you're saying. No, listen, Debbie is great. Like my one regret is I never got to work on more projects with her, but even on Bleed, which was kind of a tough shoot, you had two directors, you had Dennis Peterson and Devin Hamilton. They put Dennis Peterson in there. He was an editor, and because I'll be honest, they just didn't know if Devin could pull it off, and they thought, well, we'll put two of them together, we'll get a movie,
Yeah.
And and Debbie was bless her heart, she just. You get 110%. The dead and rotting thing is really interesting because there is some real like, again, not to sound too cheesy, but her and Steven had real chemistry.
Yeah.
Like I kept thinking in my mind, man, they could have done a whole different movie where the two buddies are the one who's pranked and he wasn't in on it. He's having this love interest with the witch. And like, I mean, it's that good. Like you kind of want to see more of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I want more Hollis.
That's just Debbie, JB and what was Eric? Yeah, dude. No, I mean she's great, man. And I remember this is funny if you're like again we were all they talk about there's a house they show and I'm pretty sure it was JR's mom's house. Not only did we shoot in it, there was probably about 12 people who were like sleeping in there when we weren't shooting. So we were just piled on top of each other, which was kind of interesting. And I remember one of the funniest things was Debbie and Trent had just shot something called Mulva Zombie Ass Kicker, which is a Chris Seaver film.
Okay, yeah,
so I bet we watched it about 14 times during the stay there just to kind of pass time, which that was kind of interesting. But again, talking about Debbie, I mean, in a movie that, I mean, I'm pretty sure people spend more money going to Costco than they ever spent on a Chris Seaver project. And I love Chris. But again, 110%. She couldn't be any more professional. She's so nice. And it's always nice to see her pop up in things. And
for sure.
Just a super and you're right, everybody in this, like Stephen O'Mahony, who was at Hollis, I think. He was in Deadly Stingers. He showed up in there. Again,
he's still, I think, of the cast. I think he and Debbie are the ones that are still acting to this day.
Yeah, I see him on like
he pops up a lot. Yeah,
on like a lot of network shows. He'll pop up from time. I remember, there's Steven. That's cool.
Yeah, he had like an arc on Desperate Housewives, a couple of things. He's done a few things. Yeah,
no, good for. And again, Bookwalter always kind of, it seemed like a very Argane get everybody let's get the kids all together and make us a movie again. And it was just, it was easy. It was easy because you knew you would get what you needed out of people. And if they didn't give what if they showed up and you didn't get it, they didn't get invited back, so, but that's how this stuff got made. It was, cause it was, even I think, again, I think the most we ever had was like 10 or 12 days on something. And that was rare. That was just rare. It was just because by the time you got done, it had to go into post because, again, these things I'm pretty sure already had like deliveries or promised deliveries of some sort.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But crazy times, man. It was interesting. And I love the podcast, man. It's interesting to hear you guys talk about that. And it's funny, and to have touched like just a little bit of this era is pretty cool too. So
hell yeah, man. Well, we're so excited to have you here and to share these behind the scenes stories. And definitely check out Dead and Right. We didn't really go too much into the story of it, but I would say check it out. Like be surprised by it because it goes in some weird directions that you won't
totally
see.
Right. There is a subversion of expectations in this movie, which I appreciated, and the scene of like Debbie Rochon giving birth while standing up was not one I expected.
No,
that's for sure.
Kind of sums up the whole like movie.
Yeah.
You don't really expect much from it, but and then the things you see, you don't expect.
Right. It went from being like, okay, they're playing things pretty straight here. Maybe it's because there's not a lot of an effects budget or a makeup budget or gore effects budget, and then like a pretty gory, goopy scene would happen, and it was like, oh no, cool, that was cool. And I kind of got lulled into this thing of expecting more scenes of people sort of just talking, and then so when something a little more like outlandish would happen, it was all the more effective.
Yeah,
I was hoping like there could have been a fun X or Pearl type thing with this, where like you had more time, you could have just like had Debbie Rochon play the older Abby role also, just in like old age makeup.
Yeah.
Man, you're just getting silly.
I know that might
silly, so.
I'm demanding what would be a 13-day shoot.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine. Yeah.
What was of all of the ones you worked on? I mean, obviously you're saying stuff is blending together, but like they're all fast and furious sort of in terms of how they're thrown together. Do you remember specifically, like of all the different ones, which one was the shortest, or which one was like the most kind of like the biggest Hail Mary of like, let's pray we get something made?
Gosh, dude. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to even think of something that I wasn't even. I mean, they were all kind of Hail Marys to a certain extent, because again, you're like, all right, man, we just gotta go. I'm trying to think. I feel like somebody told me, like, was it Stitches? Like they shot in like 4 or 5 days or something.
Yeah, some of these
could be mistaken about that. You always, and that was the interesting thing too. You'd be working on something and they would bring up, oh God, we don't, make sure it doesn't turn out like that time on whatever, but again, so much stuff going on. The only other, I know there was, I don't think there was a ton of concern, but I think the other movie that they shot, again, from this same kind of era, like, and I think it was already shot. I think maybe they shot it after Killjoy 2. I'm not sure. Well, it was Don and Harry Jigsaw, which I think you guys talked about. And again, it's to me, it shares a very similar sensibility as Dead and Rotting, where they left LA. It's shot in Wisconsin. They took it there. It's set in a bar. It's really unorthodox, and it's talky. But I like it. I think it's kind of an interesting little movie. And I remember, I feel like when maybe they were cutting that one when I came out to work on Killjoy 2. And again, because in this little complex, you walk from one room to another. It's like, what's that? It's like, oh, that's Jigsaw. We just shot that last month. It's
right.
Like, or we just shot that last week,
Yeah.
So it was a lot of that. So everything was kind of stacked on top of each other, and which again, it made it really kind of interesting. I remember they were talking because they just finished, Witch House 3. I feel like maybe a week or two, and then they were shooting Killjoy 2, and that had its own problems, and that was kind of a very lean 8 days, maybe 10 days that we were just hammering stuff out because we knew I think Trent banged out that Hell Asylum script, and then they were shooting it in a couple weeks. I mean, it was just nuts, man. So, but you're right. The Bookwalter era was once it got rolling, it was crazy. I feel like Deathbed, which was Danny had shot with Stewart, who I got to meet him for a minute.
Yeah.
Super. I would run into him a couple times, and he was super nice. But as we talk, I'm just thinking about all this stuff that was going on, and it's hard to really fathom that all of it was really going on at this time. And then, it was just done really quickly.
And those ones
kind of
you
moved
brought
on
up.
to other things and was found other, I got along with pretty much everybody. I don't think. Devin went on to do was it Delta Die again?
Yeah,
he kind of had the ear of the buyers. So good for him. He leveraged it into making movies.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a strange deal. So
you named those two movies, Deathbed and Jigsaw, and I think that's a really good comparison or companion piece to Dead and Rotting, because they are these movies that they have that feeling of being shot in the Midwest. Although I wouldn't say the same as where the location for Deathbed. I think with Deathbed more maybe it's about a subversion of expectation, but I feel like they go together pretty well. And we liked both of those movies quite a bit, and they're sort of microcosms of why the more we dig in, the more we're finding this Tempe era to be and Shadow to be pretty interesting, because you're getting those kind of full moon like movies, and you're getting movies that are taking some really interesting swings and going in directions that you don't expect. And Dead and Rotting, no different.
Yeah, it kind of always makes me wonder, because if it would have, and I get JR's a guy who. I think he, not that he's bored, but I think he wants to creatively be challenged and move on to the next thing. And, he shot a movie a couple summers ago, and he took it on a road tour, and, and again, kind of revisiting that same kind of idea of shooting something on a shoestring. And it was interesting, and I was fortunate enough. He came through Kansas City. I got to hang out with him. I still talk to him from time to time. I'll probably pop him a message and say, "Oh my gosh, man, got sucked down the wormhole." So, but yeah, it's especially Deathbed is a completely messed up movie.
Oh yeah, that's a dark one. That's a dark one.
And going back and revisiting Dead and Rotting, it makes me think, man, if we would have had the camera technology now, then
on that movie, that would have made
any of these movies, because it would have added the production value. It would have added, because to your point, we were lighting these like we were shooting film, or anything, so we were trying to do the best we could. So, and, I'm working with these great DPs like Mac or, Mike King, these guys come from film worlds. So this was kind of new to them too. In a certain sense, and I think they enjoyed the challenge of it, was part of it too. It was like, can you do a movie for $30,000 and not be complete garbage? That's not for me to say, but
right.
Proved a few times that you can.
You can look sometimes if the will is there and if it's strong enough. Unfortunately, we do have to run out of here. I just wanted to give you a second. Did you have anything that you're working on that you wanted to point people's direction or interest towards?
I'm always working on something. I direct music videos for a lot of extreme metal bands. I do makeup effects. I just finished. I don't, and that's the bad thing. It's like, I don't think I can talk about half the stuff I'm working on. I'm always still, I'm working on makeup effects. I kind of relocated myself. I'm from Missouri. I lived in LA for a while. I came back to Missouri. We've got a great tax credit here. We're starting to shoot tons of movies, so I'm always trying to keep myself busy. Keep threatening to make. It's funny because we talked about Trent's one of my best friends. Man, I was fortunate enough. If nothing else came from my time in the full moon universe or the shadow universe or the Canon 9 or whatever the flip it. I was working in. I got to meet Trent, and not only Trent, a ton, Book Walter, Tammy Sutton, a lot of people, a lot of really good people. And Trent's been probably one of my closest friends for the last 20 plus years now. I talked to him today. We're always writing stuff, trying to come up with some harebrained, half-baked shoestring movie to shoot. So who knows what we'll see come out of the comfortable Midwest confines that I'm in these days. But
hell yeah,
I'm always and when I'm not doing all that, I'll go ahead. I'm in a Bigfoot death metal band, probably the greatest Bigfoot death metal band of all time.
I think you have a safe claim on that. Yeah.
You'd be surprised. So
yeah.
There you go.
Well, next time you talk to Trent, just if he has any interest in coming on with us, tell him he can definitely reach out. If you look at any of Jeff's stuff, whether it's these Tempe era or Shadow Entertainment era full moon movies or anything that he's mentioned on the show so far, you're going to find something I'm sure you're a fan of. I mean, you're listening to the show after all. And if you are a fan, then the best way to show us is to go on whatever podcatcher you're using. If it has a function for rating and reviewing, drop us a 5-star rating, maybe a brief review if you feel so inclined to do so. It just helps us out so much, gets the show out there to more ears and a wider audience. If you want to keep up with the show on a day-to-day basis, follow us on Instagram at puppetmasters_castle freaks. You can follow me at _Giallo_Jared or Steve at Minotaur Matador. You can email us at puppetmasterscastlefreaks@gmail.com. You can hear audio versions on YouTube of the shows, and you can also see our updates on Threads and Blue Sky and Facebook. It's a lot of different things, but it's not the only a lot of different things that Steve's doing. Steve, what other show are you working on at the same time?
Well, I'm also working on a show called Cinema Arcade. That is cinema and arcade mashed together. That is what we do. We are watching movies and playing the video games based on those movies. So if you like our show and you like horror movies, you're in luck because October is all horror movies, or at least horror adjacent properties. We like to keep that term a little loose, mostly because I wanted an excuse to talk about Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. So we spit that in there. We got episodes coming up on Halloween, which you can hear Jared on. We got episodes coming up on From Dusk Till Dawn and World War Z. A couple of interesting films that we're going to be covering. And we're also going to be covering a very interesting film next week with maybe the single funniest title in the entire Full Moon canon. We are going to be talking about the movie Bad CGI Gator, which came out in 2023. And let me tell you, it delivers on its promise. Gotta love truth in advertising. So tune in next week for Bad CGI Gator. It's going to be a ton of fun, and we will see you all next week.
Yes, thank you again to Jeffrey Sisson for joining us. Thank you to everyone who is listening to the show and supports us week to week. We couldn't do it without you, and we will see you guys next time for 3 words that I am... Actually, not 3 words. I guess, 3 words. 2 words.
2 words and an acronym. Yeah, there you go.
I'm really looking forward to say Bad CGI Gator next week. See you then.